Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show, and this is my baby Wishbone. And Wishbone is a blue merle Shetland sheepdog, and he's about a little over 8 years old. And this is my baby. Wish, you want to say hello? Look at the TV, the camera. See? It's my boy. Mwah. Love you. Okay, you can go away. So that's Wishbone. All right. So what you see over here is my newest video. And this one's a little bit different. And I think it's kind of cool. And I hope you agree. Let me focus there. I am going to be doing 40 of my favorite Unplugged albums. Unplugged meaning performances. So we're not talking about studio records that were like acoustic, like Joni Mitchell Blue, or Bruce Springsteen, Nebraska, or Yorma's Qua, So Rebellious I Lover, Gene Clark, Carl Olson, Nick Drake, Pink Moon, Jose Feliciano. We're not talking about those. We are talking about unplugged albums, live, mostly, I think they're virtually all live performances, unplugged. And my first experience really with this pretty much went back to the Secret Policeman's Ball. And I remember Pete Townsend doing a performance of Won't Get Fooled Again acoustic and got a lot of play. And this was the first release. Tom Robinson was on there also. And this was a pretty popular album, EP. And then they released another album. And again, these were live performances for the Secret Policeman's Ball. And a lot of them were unplugged. Right there, Phil Collins, Sting. So this was popular back in the day. They even did a third version of it. And pretty cool stuff. So that was back when I was in high school. And then, these albums started coming out and became pretty popular. And I just went through my albums, just scanning through them, and I found a good 40. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go alphabetical, starting from A to Z, and then I'm going to finish with the 10 that are my favorite. And the way, again, that I judge my favorite is by how much I played them. I love or really like all of these albums. I have them, so I like them. Some more than others, but the top 10 would be the ones that I played the most. So let's start at A, and one of my least favorites. And it's fine. This is Bryan Adams, Unplugged. If you're a big Bryan Adams fan, you'll really like it. Obviously he's a really good songwriter, and I remember when he was first starting out. I was in SUNY Albany, and he released his album and was starting to get some play up there. I remember that. This is a pretty recent one, actually. This is Changes Now Bowie, and no audience on this one, but they're like acoustic reworkings of a lot of his songs, a lot of deeper cuts. Particularly, I love the version of Aladdin Sane on this, which is so different than the studio version and the live version, the previous stuff. This is a good CD. No audience, but it's still real good. The biggest one of all time, probably, and the one that brought to the general populations, and probably his biggest album of all time, is Eric Clapton's Unplugged. Really, really strong record. Like the idea that it's very uncommercial. If you really look at the track listing, he goes deep. But probably the biggest thing on here is Layla. And that is certainly the best example of the old saying that you can take a great song and completely redo it, and it still works really well. Hard to believe Layla, with that one of the greatest guitar licks of all time, it's just a masterpiece, how he could turn that into an acoustic song, and it's almost as good. Amazing. So Unplugged, great release from Eric Clapton. Not one of the top ones for me, but really, really good. Now, I'm a big fan of Gene Clark and Carl Olson, who is not that popular. And Gene Clark has one called Silverado 75 Live and Unreleased, his first ever solo live album. It's pretty good. It's not great, but pretty good. And this one's pretty good too. This is called Silhouetted in Light. Gene Clark and Carla Olson live in concert. Again, this is pretty much acoustic. Really good set list. This is a good one as well. Hard to find this one. This is on Fiend. Demon Records. This is from an import. Now that's from around the time of So Rebellious for Love. This is a great album. This is a studio record, so if you ever check out Gene Clark and Carl Olson, this is a really, really strong record. So that's a live one from around that time. Now, another one that I got into many years ago, The Corrs and The Corrs Unplugged. Another really good record. The problem that I had with this one is the album I got before that is The Corrs Live in Dublin. VH1 presents. This album blew me away. This was one of my favorite albums of the year I got it. This one had Bono on it and Ron Wood, and this is an amazing live album. And this is also kind of acoustic-like. So it kind of took, the edge off for me for this Corrs Unplugged album. This one is really great. The Corrs, really, really good band for sure. Let's keep going. We are still in the letter C. And this is an interesting box set, Elvis Costello. And this is him and his piano player. And this is 5 EPs of Elvis Costello and his piano player doing complete reworkings of some really deep tracks, as well as The Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes. And this was around the All This Useless Beauty tour. Really interesting idea. Each EP is from a different location and deep tracks and really cool reworking from Elvis Costello. Another really popular Unplugged record is Bob Dylan's MTV Unplugged. It's pretty good. There's also a DVD of this. It's a good one. Of course, Unplugged Bob Dylan, you can go with any of his really early albums. But as far as the live ones go, I certainly love this one from the bootleg series, Live 64, live at Philharmonic Hall, the concert. And this is a great, great early performance from Bob Dylan. I like it better than the Unplugged album for sure. This was one that I was really looking forward to. It was kind of a disappointment. It's okay. Peter Frampton did a thing called Acoustic Classics. And he did acoustic reworkings of a lot of his tracks. Of course, like, Wind of Change, All I Want to Be Is By Your Side, We're Already, Show Me the Way, We're Already acoustic, Baby I Love Your Way. So an interesting idea. Fig Tree Bay has always been one of my favorite Frampton songs, and nice acoustic version of that. Definitely not an essential Peter Frampton album, but what the hell, I appreciate him giving it a try. I'm a big fan of a guy named Peter Himmelman, and this is an album he did called Stage Diving. I saw Peter live a bunch of times. First time I got introduced to him, he opened up for the Kinks at the Beacon Theater in New York City. And he was phenomenal, and I saw him at the Bottom Line. He was amazing, and he's better with a full band. This one is just him, and it's fine. It's a good live record if you're a big fan of Peter Himmelman, but definitely not an album that I would jump into if you're not a big fan of him, because it's okay. Peter, if you ever watch my video, please release a live record when you played with the full band. From that Skin tour at the Bottom Line, man, that was an amazing concert. Would much rather have that. Hot Tuna is a great favorite band of mine. I actually prefer electric Hot Tuna more than I like acoustic Hot Tuna, but this is certainly a classic, live at the New Orleans House, Berkeley in 1969. And there you go, Yorma and Jack going to town on the blues. Hot Tuna. There's a lot of Hot Tuna acoustic live records. This is an interesting one from Steve Howe, not necessarily acoustic. And this is Steve Howe guitar reworkings, an evening of solo guitar recorded live. And interesting is he takes bits and pieces from some of the really big pieces, like from Tales from Tropic Africa Oceans and things like that. And it's good. If you like Steve Howe on guitar, it's plenty good. One of my favorites for sure, I love Jethro Tull, and this was a pretty early Unplugged album, and this was called A Little Light Music. And so this is all live acoustic Tull recorded over in Europe, And good set list, some blues, Life is a Long Song, Rocks on the Road, Too Old to Rock and Roll, Too Young to Die, acoustic, From a Deadbeat to an Old Greaser. Some good stuff on here. Pussy Willow, Jethro Tull, acoustic, a little light music. This is an interesting one. You know, when I grew up, all my friends were huge fans of Kiss, and I was not, because they were the makeup and selling everything, and I was like, those guys are a scam. Remember my best friend Mike walking around with an 8-track, I guess, of Destroyer, and he was always playing Beth, and I really grew to like Beth and Detroit Rock City. And eventually I started picking up some classic Kinks, Kiss albums, and started appreciating them and looking past the makeup and their whole persona. And I was like, yeah, there's some really great tunes here. You know, if they were just an unknown glam band, they'd be one of the best. And then when I got Kiss Unplugged, I was blown away. I love this Unplugged album. This is just terrific. This is when they reformed and brought in Peter Criss and Ace Frehley for some of the songs, I believe. And this is a great, great Unplugged album. Love it. Great set list. They sound great. Yeah, it's terrific. Kiss Unplugged, a really good one. A lot of people think this is one of the best live albums of all time, and I really like it as well. Nirvana Unplugged in New York. I am not the biggest Nirvana fan, but I have a lot of their classic stuff, and this is a really good Unplugged album for sure. It's a classic, and obviously The Man Who Sold the World, probably more famous at this point from Nirvana than David Bowie. A lot of really great things on Unplugged in New York from Nirvana. We will keep going. Here's a really famous one, and it's an interesting one, and it's different. Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, No Quarter. Sometimes they call it Unleaded. And they revamped a lot of their classic songs, really made some of them Middle Eastern even more than they were, and a couple of new tracks on here as well. Really interesting, different performance, and took my hat off to Jimmy Page and Robert Plant for doing something really different. That's No Quarter. Renaissance, one of my favorite bands. I've spoken about them many times, and even they did an Unplugged album live at the Academy of Music in Philadelphia. And pretty cool. Good set list right there. I Think of You, Mother Russia, Northern Lights, some of Scheherazade. Good stuff. Renaissance Unplugged. Simon and Garfunkel. If you were going to talk about studio records, you can go with virtually any of their studio records being unplugged and classic. But these are two great live records that were released, latter day. This one is Simon and Garfunkel live in 1969. Great, great set list, of course. But what would you expect? It's Simon and Garfunkel. It's a great recording. They sound great, as you would think. Terrific stuff. And if that's not enough, this is from 1967. And this says a once-in-a-lifetime concert event for the first time ever. The landmark acoustic set from Lincoln Center, January 22nd, 1967. 2 years earlier, and another amazing live, unplugged acoustic performance from Simon and Garfunkel. That's great. Let's keep going. Bruce Springsteen. Well, again, I didn't talk about Nebraska because we're talking about unplugged live kind of sets. And here is Springsteen on Broadway. He released this as a 2 CD set. It's fun. It's not the kind of stuff I could listen to more than twice because, all his talking and stories is fun, and it was probably great on Broadway. I didn't see it, but listening to it on a CD, I don't need to keep hearing his stories over and over again. But certainly a worthwhile recording from Bruce. Al Stewart, great artist, and this is an interesting unplugged live record. This is Al Stewart live. Rhymes in Rooms with Peter White. So you got 2 acoustic guitars and a good set list for sure. And they pull it off. Al Stewart live, Rhymes in Rooms. Great unplugged performance. This is one of the most popular ones for sure, Rod Stewart. And Unplugged and Seated, right there with his old buddy Ronnie Wood. And this was like the Eric Clapton one. It's certainly one of the most popular, biggest selling Unplugged albums ever. And a great set list. And Rod sounds great. Nice to have Ronnie Wood there. And Have I Told You Lately was a huge hit from this record. Great performance from Rod the Mod. Where am I? I am in the W's right now. I'm a big fan of John Wetton. And I found this at one point. This is called Acoustica, Live in America, John Wetton. And this is also largely solo. And he's got some Asia in there. And he's got some King Crimson. And he's got some other solo stuff. Good stuff. John Wetton, sorely missed since he passed away. I'm a big fan of John Wetton. Family and Uriah Heep and Wishbone and Asia and King Crimson. Whitesnake, I found this as an import called Stalkers in Tokyo. This is just David Coverdale and Adrian Vandenberg. And this is really just acoustic. And he pulls it off. He pulls it off really good. This is called Stalkers in Tokyo. Good set list. Soldier of Fortune, Here I Go Again, Is This Love, the Love Ain't No Stranger. They pull it off really well considering just the two of them. Good recording. Hard to find that one, I think. Wishbone Ash, wearing the shirt, aren't I? Wishbone Ash, even they did an Unplugged album. They called it Bare Bones. And this is Andy Powell leading the band, of course. Pulled it off. Great artwork, by the way. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Tree trunk shaped like a woman, shaped like a guitar. And it's called Bare Bones. And Andy sounds good. Really good on lead vocals. He pulls it off. Great set list with Wings of Desire, Arrows in My Way, Master of Disguise. Even the rockers like Living Proof come off good. Strange Affair, Everybody Needs a Friend. And Mark Birch, I think, was the bass player and sang a really good song on this called Won't You Give Him One More Chance, or You Won't Take Me Down. That was it. You Won't Take Me Down. Unknown song, a new one on this. If you really like Wishbone Ash, hard to find, but that's a good Unplugged record. As is this one. Really good band I like. Within Temptation, a big, symphonic, heavy metal, kind of hard rocking band with that symphonic sound, the great lead vocalist. And they toned it down for this one and did an acoustic night at the theater, Within Temptation. Sorry, there's Wishbone barking. And this is live and unplugged. And lots of classic Within Temptation tracks on here. And they sound great. Even toned down. So this is a really good find. Within Temptation, an acoustic night at the theater. Which leaves us, we got 10 left, right? Oh, no, I'm missing one. I forgot about Neil Young. Neil Young Unplugged. This is a great live Unplugged performance. I also have this on Laserdisc. And great set list. And Neil sits on the stage and he goes from instrument to instrument. It's just him and he pulls it off. This is an extraordinarily great Unplugged album. That leaves us with the 10 left. Why are these my favorite? Like I said, I pretty much really love all the ones I showed you. But these are the 10 that I listen to the most. That's what makes them the most popular for me. So let's start at number 10, The Pretenders. And this is one called The I Love You, which I think you could also pronounce I Love You. The Pretenders. And Chrissy's just got such a great voice. And good set list, sense of purpose, love it, chill factor, private lives. This is a really, really strong acoustic Pretenders live record. Love it. I Love You, The Pretenders at number 10. At number 9, we're going to go with Nils Lofgren. And I didn't expect too much from this live record that he released. I'm a huge fan of Nils. But this one called Acoustic Live was a huge success for me, and I played it all year, the year that I got it. He sounds just great. And just Nils on acoustic with these songs, yeah, it holds up really, really well. It's got a good set list, too. Sticks and Stones. Got a mixer of old stuff like Keith Don't Go and Wonderland and Believe and newer stuff at the time, Black Books and Holler Rise and All Out, Mud in Your Eye, and he ends with No Mercy. It's a really good acoustic live performance from Nils Lofgren. That was number 9. Number 8, probably my favorite 10,000 Maniacs album, and that is a really successful album. They had 10,000 Maniacs MTV Unplugged, a huge hit for them. Great set list. They mix it up with a lot of the best songs from their whole discography, and plus you get a great cover of Because the Night. And this is a terrific live record from 10,000 Maniacs and Natalie Merchant. At number 8, MTV Unplugged from 10,000 Maniacs. 10, 9, 8. Number 7 for me, this is the album. I always loved Ian Hunter. I saw him in concert, when he did the Schizophrenic album and then the live record. But when he put this thing out called Strings Attached, which is a 2 CD set, a very special night with Ian Hunter, Strings Attached, it's acoustic but with an orchestra, and it's an amazing set list, as you can see. It completely re-energized my love for Ian Hunter, and I wound up picking up all his new releases every time he released a new album, and they were all amazing. He is such a great talent. If you ever see this live record, this 2 CD set, Strings Attached from Ian Hunter, you will be glad you got it. It is absolutely gorgeous. Great set list, great performance. Ian Hunter with an orchestra, acoustic, fantastic. There you have it. That's 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 6 for me, another great Unplugged record, MTV Unplugged. This was the official bootleg from Paul McCartney. He joined the party pretty quick and released a really great Unplugged record. I like it. He goes deep with Blue Moon of Kentucky and San Francisco Bay Blues, and then he throws in some Beatles classics and Every Night, some deeper McCartney tracks, and I Love Her. That Would Be Something. Does a really good cover of Ain't No Sunshine with the band. It is just it's a terrific live record from Mr. Paul McCartney, Unplugged, the official bootleg. That's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Number 5 for me, another one that I was blown away by. This is Uriah Heep, acoustically driven. This actually made it into my list of all-time favorite live albums in any kind of recording. This is a tremendous acoustic album. The acoustic set from Uriah Heep, and wow. It's even got Ian Anderson as a special guest, and great set list. There you go. You can really see it. They mix it up throughout their whole career there. Produced by Pip Williams. It is not easy to find this album, but if you see it, definitely give it a listen. If you are not a big Uriah Heep fan, you'll gain a lot more respect for this, I think, underappreciated band. I think they have a great discography, been around forever, and I don't think they get the respect that they should deserve. Let's keep going. 2, 3. We got 4 more left. This was also shocking to me how great this album is. Here is Heart Unplugged. They called it The Road Home. And this is a terrific live recording of the band Unplugged. Look at the set list. Dog and Butterfly and some newer tracks, Back to Avalon. Love Hurts is beautiful on here. They redo All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You, which is not one of my favorite tracks, but it works really well on here. River, the Joni Mitchell classics. You got Seasons. Really strong acoustic live record from Heart, The Road Home. We got at number 3, a band that did Unplugged before most people, and this is a phenomenal album. This is called Reckoning. We're talking about the Grateful Dead, and this was recorded both at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco and Radio City Music Hall back in 1980. They released this originally as a double vinyl with another double vinyl electric set called Dead Set. But Reckoning is the acoustic set. This was the original CD version of it. There's the original set list. But if you go out and get the newer version, like this one, there's a whole second disc. They put the whole original album on one disc and a whole second disc of unreleased stuff, bonus materials. This is tremendous. The Grateful Dead Acoustic, especially back then, oh my God. I even have a Laserdisc of this, actually. This is just tremendous. So this is my third all-time favorite Unplugged live album, The Grateful Dead Reckoning. The number 2 and the number 1 are a little bit of a stretch, but just a little bit. At number 2 is the Kinks. Now, there's 2 different versions of this album. This is the UK version called To the Bone. The American version of To the Bone was this one. And the American version is a 2 CD set. The UK version is a 1 CD set. And there is some overlap, but some of it is totally unique. And this is kind of raw in the studio. It's unplugged, but it's also electric as well. So yeah, it is a little bit of a stretch, but it is, you know, them in the studio doing their thing with a small audience, and it's a great set list. Some of it is acoustic. It's terrific. If you're a Kinks fan, the problem is you got to get both of them because they're both kind of different. This is my number 2 all-time favorite, unplugged, although there's some electric on this, the Kinks. Number 1, well, you see what's left, and that's going to be the Rolling Stones. And again, this is virtually all unplugged. The Stones did not just do a Rolling Stones Unplugged. They wanted to do their own thing. Of course, it's very much like the Stones to do that. And most of this is really unplugged. Street Fighting Man's acoustic bass, Not Fade Away, which was the opener on that tour. That was the Voodoo Lounge tour. Shine a Light, Spider on the Fly they went back to, did that. It's a mixture of live and in the studio. Live in the studio, I'm Free. Good version of Wild Horses, you know, Let It Bleed, Angie, Love in Vain, which they mess up and they leave in there messed up and then they redo it. Ends with Little Baby, which is a great little touch, Sweet Virginia. And the electric part on there is their version of Like a Rolling Stone, which was the single from this album, and I love it, man. That's not unplugged, but it's killer. So there you go. 40 unplugged albums from live or live in the studio, but mostly live, and 1 or 2 reworkings of acoustic classics. There's a lot of unplugged material out there, as you saw. And go out and dig it. There's one other one I got on vinyl that you never heard of, and this is a guy named Michael Wendroff, big fan of his. He's from the 70s, and this was from 1976. So this is just him playing live with a guitar. So Michael, I don't know if you're out there watching my videos, but you made it. It's my choice, but you can't get that on CD, and good luck finding that vinyl as well. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please, if you never have, hit subscribe. Check out my other videos. Hit like. Tell your friends. Help my channel to grow. I would greatly appreciate that. You got to see Wishbone, who I had a couple of viewers who were like, when are we going to see Wishbone? There he was. You heard him barking as well. And as I always say, stay safe out there. Stay healthy. I will see you on my next video. And thanks for tuning in and thanks for subscribing. Have a good one.